network identity, governance, security, and management. And what are the benefits that we're getting from a landing zone? The main benefit from a landing zone is making you stop, think, and then plan your Azure environment before you deploy it. We've got some of the quotes from the previous slides. Understanding how people are going to connect before you build the environment, establishing that single source of truth with Azure AD. Good design now, make Azure governance easier later. What can I put? What are those guardrails I can put in place through Azure policy to make sure that what I deliver is going to be correct? And then security, zero trust. Assume that everything can be breached. Verify when you need to explicitly. And again, back to that conversation about RBAC, least privilege access for all users. And then management. Get that baseline. Not everything is mission critical. Everything should be up. Not everything mission critical. Should I be focusing on those, those high value assets that I have within Azure? So that really is the benefits. So we've got to the point now where we've been through our plan stage. We've thought about what our landing zone should look like, and we're now ready to deploy. So really, what are our options? It is sort of, DIY versus partner-led. So do you want to deploy this yourself? If you do, Microsoft will provide you with blueprints. So for landing zone, there's really sort of 3 blueprints that they talk about and you can find online. We'll have a quick look at them now. So in terms of this would be for that, migrate. So pretty simple infrastructure. Got my Azure migrate instance. I've got to establish myself a virtual network, some storage accounts, login. I'm using Azure Monitor and using the log analytics to collect information for everything that's going to be created. Azure directory, 1 resource group, 1 subscription, and this blueprint's available for you to be able to just deploy it into Azure. Again, pretty simple, not a huge amount on there. But this is available and already built for you to go in and edit, make changes, and then deploy. So the second one is the foundational services. So again, pretty simple. You can see there that they've included Azure policy, they've included security center within those. So again, pretty simple, but again, a blueprint available for you to be able to put all this information in and deploy onto Azure. So at the other end of the scale is enterprise scale. So that's really, there's 8 kind of critical, 8 critical design areas. The 5 that we've discussed, plus they talk about EA agreements, and you need to think about how you're going to, how you want to pay for Azure. Bit more about business continuity and disaster recovery, and then also looking, at platform automation and DevOps. So, how are we going to deliver applications into our cloud? And again, you see the scale really of all of the services that potentially you can deploy. Starting here with our landing zone, as you can see, these have all been broken out in subscriptions. These are all the services that are involved there, and then separate subscriptions for connectivity, for management. You've got identity there, looking at domain controllers and key vaults and so on. So that's if you're looking to do things for yourself. There's always the option of using, getting some help and using an Azure Expert MSP. We can guide you through the cloud adoption framework. We can provide customized landing zones, so we have our own IP, we have our own information, our own blueprints and collateral that we use to deliver landing zones, and we can leverage those for you. And we can provide support when needed. So, whether you're right at the beginning of the journey, or if you're a veteran and there's a specific skill set that you don't have, Azure Expert MSPs are on hand to help you with that. So what about next steps? So really just going back to what we spoke about earlier, educate yourself, start off, if you haven't already, Azure fundamentals. There's a load more brilliant information on Microsoft Learn. It's fantastic amount of information there that you can start to learn about the services that you want to deploy. If you're starting on your own, there's a cloud readiness assessment online that you can take on Microsoft's website. That will really help try and sort of tease out where you are and give you indicators of what you should be thinking about as you start to try and build your plan to move to Azure. Cloud Adoption Framework, absolutely tons of information. There's tools, spreadsheets, like I said, suggestions around naming conventions, all this sort of stuff within the Cloud Adoption Framework, all available for free, all available online. And then perhaps looking at something like Azure Migrate, so deploying that tooling, assessing your on-site infrastructure and looking, what can I move to the cloud that's going to be easy? What's going to cause you problems? So you kind of know up front where you're going to have to spend your time during that migration phase, what you perhaps want to move first. And when you know what you want to move first, then you know what that first landing zone needs to look like and the tools and the things that you need in it. Of course, as we said, you can engage with Cloud Direct. We're an Azure Expert MSP. We do one-to-one infrastructure migration in the morning. So if you haven't moved yet and you would like to know more about that and would like to sit down with us and have a discussion about moving from on-prem or wherever your infrastructure is now into Azure, that's something that you can do with us. And these last few bullet points, these are actually from the Microsoft website about what an expert MSP should be. So really, it talks about end-to-end lifecycle management. Really what that's getting across is anything from where you are in the beginning to where you are, if you're a veteran and you want us to come and do like a well-architected framework review or something like that, we can help, from the beginning, to where you are now. The repeatable, highly automated solutions, this is all the stuff that I spoke about earlier, the IP, the blueprints, all the stuff that we've had and we've developed over doing hundreds of these. This is what we do every day. You may only be, out there that depending on, what your job role is, you may never, do half a dozen of these landing zones in your career. You might only do one or two. We do these every day. We can really help you, make sure you get it right first time. And then really the skill set. So we touched on it earlier about being an Azure Expert MSP and the different accreditations that we have. We can help you across all parts of Azure. So whether that's initial phase like we're talking today, architecting, different cloud solutions, whether we're talking about DevOps, professional consultant, and Azure Expert MSP can really supply any of those.